Welcome back to Auto Transport Intel. I'm Jay. It is Wednesday. It is noon Central Time. That means it's time for DOT Compliance, where we talk about all things compliant or non-compliant. If you've got a regulation or a question, FMCSA DOT, CSA scores, trailer ratings, CDL, IFTA, ELD, IRP, clearinghouse, bring it. When I say bring it, what I mean is what we're going to do in about a minute, as you know if you're watching. Thank you, Devin. Thanks for tuning in. Jump in the live chat, post a question, and Brian Riker, your DOT guy, will be here in a minute. He's going to help answer your questions, give advice. He runs a business. He can tell you more about it. Go ahead and do us a favor. After you leave a like, thank you so much. You can click share, click copy. See those buttons right down there? And send that YouTube link to somebody that you think could definitely benefit. They're struggling with, are they gonna be legal when they hit the next way station? Are they driving, or do you know someone driving around way stations? Brian can tell you why actually that's not helpful. In the long run, that's not going to work out to your benefit. You need a positive safety score, and that's something that it's definitely going to help you protect your CDL and your business. Also, go ahead and go to autotransportintel.com, click on sign up, become an ATI insider, and learn more about what it is that you're looking for in the auto transport industry. Carriers, brokers, dispatchers, everybody's welcome. If you saw the show last night, we had a show, we were featuring broker software. And actually, broker software can help carriers that are growing their business. Hey man, you got the truck, get the customers too. Build your business. And so that's part of the autotransportintel.com ecosystem of network and information. Go ahead and, hey Vistaga, what's going on? Shane Company's commercial. Ooh, interesting. David at Two Bears is here. All right. It is now time. Here we go. We are going to bring in Brian Riker. Let's say hello to Brian. Brian, can you see me and hear me okay?
Hey, Jay. Yes, I can.
Great.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes. I'll apologize in advance because I'm in the O'Hare Airport, so the audio is going to suck.
Well, we do all right at airports. So
yeah, it's not the first time.
No. So you're at the airport. So what's on the agenda now? Are you headed
home.
to equipment? Oh, you're headed home. The man goes home.
Yeah, so 9 days out, it's time to go home.
That's awesome. Well, good. Well, I mean, you look well, you sound well, you've been out and about, but you made it. You're going to make it home.
Yes, I am, and I'll be home until next Monday.
Awesome. And for anybody in the live chat that's still traveling, let us know. Are you guys home? Are you still traveling? Because, and the weather's good. The weather's, right? We haven't had...
Yeah, the weather's good in most of the country right now.
That's good. Let's see here. Oh, hey, look. Vistaga says, I have a sticker past my level 1.
Congratulations. Good job. That's important. Those get you a free pass at a lot of scales for the next 3 months, but also if you got the sticker, you had a perfect inspection, that helps your CSA score. So good job.
Do me a favor, Brian. Expand on, for a minute, why is it so important to get these good inspections, go to the, like I said in the intro, go to the weigh station. Why is that so important?
Happy too. It's important because your DOT safety score, your CSA score, is a weighted average. So if you get the positives, it's almost like putting you into negative points, so that when you get some bad inspections and the points come on, they don't affect you as much. So your score is just an average of your good and your bad. So you can negate a bad inspection by getting a good inspection. And so that'll keep you in the, when they compare you to your peer groups, it keeps you in the percentile where you're not going to the intervention threshold. You stay nice and low off the radar. Your inspection selection system score will stay green lighted, so you're less likely to get flagged in for an inspection. Excuse me.
You're good. And on that, so when you talk like weighted score and whatnot, do these scores get looked at a lot?
Yes, you, excuse me. Your insurance company looks at them. Live radio, you got to love it.
You're good.
Your insurance company looks at it. They look at it for rating your premium because they have no way to determine whether you're a safe carrier or not, other than to look at the motor vehicle reports of your individual drivers and then your company safety score as a whole. So they may not use the CSA program, but they use all the same data that is in that program to generate what's called a cab card, not to be confused with your old term of cab card for all your registrations you had when you have your apportioned registration plate. But this insurance bureau report, it's like a credit report on the safety of your company. And so they use this data that is collected by roadside enforcement officers. Also, some shippers, some brokers will use this to determine whether you're a safe enough carrier that they feel comfortable entrusting you with their freight. And lastly, drivers are starting to use this now to decide whether they want to work for a company or not, because if they see a company that has a history of equipment violations, they're like, we're going to get her ass at the scale. That's going to go on my license too and ruin my chance to go somewhere, because you have a score for the company and a score as a driver. So when you're hiring a driver, you do the pre-employment screening program. It's a $10 report from the DOT, and it'll show you their history, inspections for 2 or 3 years and crashes for 5 years back. You may find a crash on there that was never reported and on their motor vehicle record. So this score is very important in the hiring process, both for you hiring employees and your employees deciding to work for you, and your customers deciding to hire you as the motor carrier.
You know, Silverman sums it up. New York and PA rest stop inspection sites suck. So I know everything's not all guns and roses around here, Jay. Hey, Chris Chamberlain says, hey everyone, question from last week about CDL. Brian mentioned if you have a CDL permit before February, you won't have to go through the 160-hour class. Thanks again and Merry Christmas.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Chris, and you're absolutely correct. And now I will correct one thing on what you said. It's not a 160-hour class. There is no hour minimum in the Federal Motor Carrier entry-level driver training regulation. That said, to accomplish everything that's in the required curriculum, the subjects we have to touch on, to do it properly, it should take about 160 hours, which is the same as what your current professional truck driver accredited programs are, regardless of the source. So yes, it would really be about 160 hours, but I just want to make it clear that the regulation has no minimum number of hours. So when you're shopping for an entry-level driver training provider, when you decide to get your CDL later, if they say they can do all this training in 15 or 20 hours, just know you're getting a crappy program and you're just paying for them to rubber stamp that you had the training, because it should take somewhere between 120 and 160 hours for a Class A license to cover everything that the new entry-level training rules require.
Devin, this is a continuation of the non-CDL Virginia stuff. Still having a little trouble getting tags and registration for non-CDL in Virginia. Do I need to register with UCR first? Do I need active commercial insurance? Thank you.
UCR, no, you do not need to register with them before you can get your license plate. You will need your active commercial insurance if you're trying to register with a commercial tag, because Virginia is the state that we figured out a couple weeks ago will not let you use a regular truck plate in commercial use. So you may need to have your commercial insurance in place before the Commonwealth will give you a plate, because they're going to be looking for a motor carrier that's responsible for safety on that. So I'm thinking that might be your hang up. I am not a Virginia specialist, so you're going to need to find somebody that really understands Virginia. Let me rephrase that. I'm not a motor vehicle registration specialist to understand the nuances of every state. So you'll need to find somebody that understands that well. I don't know your answer for who that is in Virginia.
Yeah, it's interesting. Regulations, legal stuff, what have you. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Let's go to camera 1. What we find many times is, right, it's hard, but to find the right person to help you Thread the eye of the needle. What can Devin do here as far as trying to find the person with those answers?
Well, being a non-CDL, and so it'll be a non-apportioned registration, his options are going to be limited. Apportioned registrations, there's a lot of national service providers that will help you with them because that program is a little simpler. But a non-apportioned is really state level. I'm going to recommend that he contact the Virginia Trucking Association. They may have some resources that can help with this. The VATRO, Virginia Association of Towing and Recovery Operators, because the tow trucks would also use, a lot of tow trucks are not apportioned vehicles. So VATRO might have some resources that can help him with the registration process. And otherwise, maybe find a forum with other Virginia-based hotshotters and ask them how they solved their registration problem. That's the least reliable way to get information. So I would start with the Virginia Trucking Association or the Virginia Towing Association and ask them for guidance on registration. Just north of the border in Pennsylvania, it's easy because all of the R tags and titles are done through third-party service providers. So you just need to find a company like Northeast Title that specializes in commercial vehicles, and they know the rules inside and out. Virginia, I believe they're still all done through the Department of Motor Vehicles, which makes it hard because you can go to 2 different offices or get 2 different clerks and get 3 different answers on what is required.
So I got in the live chat. I did find Virginia Trucking Association. That's vatrucking.org. I found the Virginia Towing Association. Yes, vatro.org. So hopefully that helps. It's great advice.
Yes. I wish I had some better advice for him, but individual states, especially for not apportioned registration, can get very complicated.
But who knows? May get lucky, and so keep digging, and let us know how that goes. Carlos, question for Brian. Did they change getting your DOT physical every 2 years to every year? When I got mine earlier this year, it was only for 1. A friend of mine just had his, and it was only for 1.
No, it's still a 2-year physical. If you get it for less than 24 months, that means they found something wrong with you that falls in the category for a shorter than 2-year period. So either hypertension or your sugar was bad when they did the urine sugar test, protein in your urine, something like that. And you can end up with a physical that is only valid for as little as 45 or even 90 days. Well, if it's a serious medical condition, they send you for further treatment. But a 1 year, I'm going to say most likely they discovered that you have high blood pressure or something similar to that.
Good to know. Yeah, keep us posted. Let us know how that works out, Carlos. Vistaga, an empty semi-trailer is 15,000 pounds, and I have a bobtail that only weighs 7,000 pounds. 22,000 pounds total combo. Is there any advantage to licensing the truck under $26K for delivering new empty trailers?
As long as your combination together is still going to add up to less than 26K, you're going to avoid the apportioned registration and fuel tax. But let me back this up. Just because your bobtail only physically weighs 7,000, what is its gross vehicle weight rating? And together, yes, you'll physically weigh less than 26,000 pounds with that truck and trailer. You may have a few issues getting it registered. They may not want to register a tractor that light. I don't see any reason why you couldn't, if you got 15 and 7, register it for 26,000 or less. As long as all you're ever going to haul are 15,000 pound empty trailers. It just limits you to what you're going to do.
And Carlos says no health problems were found. I'm guessing it's his sunny disposition, and they just want to see him more often.
Well, if that's the case and they only gave you a year, then they might have made a mistake. So you have to go back to your provider that issued the physical and ask them. So when you do your DOT physical, you have those 30-some questions you have to answer. If you answered yes to any of them, you're highly likely to get a 1 year or less physical. So even a stupid question like, have you ever had a broken bone? And you had a bone that was broken when you were 12 years old. The medical examiner may use that in their discretion to then give you a 1-year card. They have a lot of leeway with their discretion. Maybe they decided your body mass is a little too much and they think you might be a candidate for obstructive sleep apnea or something like that. What is your blood pressure? Maybe there was no clinical diagnosis of hypertension, but if it was higher than 170 over 90 or 180 over 90, then for the DOT purposes, that's a 1-year card, even without the clinical diagnosis of hypertension. So look at the notes that were made on your long form. You should have got the long form back from the doctor when you did your physical. If you didn't, call the office and ask for a copy of it and look at all their notes and compare them to the notes that are on the form for what the normal ranges are for blood pressure, sugar, your protein in your urine, etc. And if you're anywhere out of that abnormal range, that might be why. And if not, just ask them, why did I get a 1-year card if you didn't find anything wrong with me?
All right, cool. Good information here. I'm over here. I'm messing with something, and so I just gave some kind of proverbial. Okay, cool. Here, let's do this. I am, and it was normal. That's really interesting, Carlos. Yeah, keep us posted. We want to know what this is.
Also, let me throw one more
But
plug in there for our
HIPAA violation. Okay.
well, let me throw one plug in there for, and I don't need Carlos's exact medical history, but for our friends over at OOIDA, they have a website. I think it's ratemydoc.com, but you can find it on the OOIDA website, a link to it. And it's a place where you can leave a review on your medical examiner that provided your physical. And you may even see there's other reviews that this particular facility or chain of facilities has been known for doing this. So you might want to go over and leave a review once you've talked to the doctor and see why or what reason they gave you a 1-year card, or if it was just an accident and they wrote the wrong date in there. Mistakes happen too. But if there is no reason for you to have a 1-year card, you take that exact same form over to another medical examiner, and if they give you a 2-year card, you can put that back into the system. There really is no way to challenge a medical examiner's opinion other than to get a second opinion from a different medical examiner. If he's just, or she has just made their mind up that you get a 1-year card, there's nothing you can do about it.
So let's do this. Now let's go to, we're going to do some screen share whatnot and see what we've got here. Okay, obviously, of course, I love the, we love to see if anybody can stump Brian. You can stand on your stumps. And I guess that's where Stumpy Leg came from in the live chat. How are we doing?
Oh, we're doing just fine.
Wow. Woo. This is where we talk about, are you loaded? Okay. Is everything going okay? Check out, we got a great news story. This is a good one. Deputies find 10 pounds of fentanyl stowed in the car's tires. Now, I don't normally share, like, crime busters and whatnot, but you can see the car hauling trailer in the shot. And
yes,
we do have, it was on I-80, west of Lincoln, south of Seward, midday. I don't know what time it was. 30 pounds of marijuana in the car tires. You know, I'd call that a normal traveling amount.
Yeah,
but it was
sure.
it was the 10 pounds of fentanyl that really, and then of course $25K in cash or something, AK-47. They became suspicious, and it was after reviewing the paperwork of the Trailblazer.
I wonder what caught their eye on the paperwork.
I know there's no information, and I'm probably not going to call and ask about fentanyl at a Nebraska deputy office. But yeah, it is an interesting story.
Well, this is a real issue because perhaps the drivers knew, perhaps they didn't, but you could have these cars doctored up.
No. Hey, okay, so we crashed. Hang on. We crashed. Okay, we're back to, let's go to camera 1. Okay, I think I've got audio and I think I'm back. Please let me know if you can still see me and hear me. I think I rejoined the stream, and yeah, definitely do not make jokes about deputies and fentanyl. That's gonna be. We're back. Okay, cool. Let me get Brian back in here, if I can. He's at the airport. Email. Okay. So we're back. Okay, we're good. That is so crazy. I honestly don't know what happened. And here's Brian. He's coming back in. And like what I do too is the big show on Tuesday nights, and then I reboot the system and make sure we're kind of cleared out and ready to go for the next day. And I did all those things, so I have no idea at all why that happened, which sucks because like, is that randomly going to happen? Is there something wrong with my system? I don't know.
I'll tell you why it happened. You were talking about asking a government agent a question.
Shut down.
Yes, before we get to the heart of what was going on.
Oh my gosh, exactly. I mean, I think we were about to solve the case.
We pulled the mask off of it, and instead of it being Old Man Rogers, it was Bill Gates.
Right?
You need some Scooby-Doo music now.
Exactly. Okay, let's get the titles off the screen. Back where we were. And, all right, everybody settle. Auto Transport Intel, DOT Compliance. Take 2.
The beauty of live shows.
But that's okay. We're okay. So I don't know if there's anything else to add to this story.
Not really. This is a common occurrence.
Exactly.
I've dealt with this all across the country. When I had the towing company, we picked up a car hauler that tried to play chicken with the train, and he didn't quite beat it, and it ripped off the tail of his trailer, sending 2 cars spewing down the tracks, and the cocaine and everything coming out of the cars, which led to them impounding the whole truck and having me unload it for them. And that driver, he knew exactly what he was hauling, and he was still stupid enough to try to beat the train. But my only caution to drivers is if things seem suspicious, if you get the hairs raising on your arm, maybe you shouldn't haul that car.
So, all right, speculation live. Do you think the driver knew, or maybe because I think, because as a dispatcher, and we've had some shady moves. It seems like if they pay well, the driver's thinking, well, I don't know, but I'm just going to move it, and I don't know anything, so how bad can it be?
Well, speculation live.
Yeah.
I'd have to see the paperwork that clued off the officers that something was wrong with the S10 Blazer, but I'm going to say the driver may have known, because if the paperwork appeared doctored, maybe it didn't match all of his other bill of ladings for the load, and so it looked like it was a oddball that didn't belong in that load, or there were obvious spelling errors or typos or something. Then maybe the driver did make a fake BOL and try to haul a car when he had an open spot on the trailer, knowing damn well what was in it. But it could just be that he got bad paperwork from a shipper that was trying to pretend like they were a real shipper, and the officers were tipped off to it or knew what the spot on the bill of lading. So I can't speculate whether the driver knew or not, but if there was enough inconsistencies on the bill of lading for a non-motor carrier enforcement officer, a regular trooper, to notice it, then the driver should have noticed it. That said, highly likely that's their excuse for a confidential informant told them about this load, and they just used as the excuse for why they wanted to inspect that particular vehicle, because if they hone right in on one vehicle, they normally have been tipped off.
That such a good point. And that actually, now that is starting to jive with logic. Hey, remember how we were saving for a house? Well, surprise! I think it's time for us to start a trucking company. Let's take our love and the truck and insurance, wrap it in a bow, and make it happen. So, final reminder. I've seen this. What's going on here, Brian? Do you know?
Yes. Electronic logging devices came out before they had a final sunset date for the 3G cellular data network. And a lot of providers, especially the low cost providers, are using devices that are not going to function as early as next January when they start sunsetting the 3G network. So, what we're going to find is if your device is on that old technology, when they turn it off, it's gonna be like they reached over and turned a switch off. It won't communicate, it won't work. It'll still record, but there's no way to upload the information, so it's not compliant. So what you need to do is, if you're not positive, contact your ELD manufacturer and find out what their plan is if they're still on 3G for replacing the device.
Well, so what do people need to do?
They need to figure out what type of network, not the brand. AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, they all have 3G, 4G, 5G networks. They need to figure out which network their device is on, which may be as easy as opening up the settings page and pulling up the parameters, but it may be as complicated as calling your provider and asking them, hey, I have this device and I've had it for several years. Is it 4G, 5G compatible, or do I need to replace it? And if so, what's your plan to help me replace it? Because once the network shuts down, that ELD will be as if you don't have one, and you'll get put out of service for 10 hours. You'll have to use paper logs to finish that trip, and then your truck will be grounded until you can replace it. And with the supply chain issues we're facing right now, who knows when that replacement will be available.
So I put in the live chat, check your ELD. There's a link to the FMCSA website. Brian, can I keep you for a few more minutes here?
Yes, I have time before my flight today.
Oh, awesome. All right, well, nothing says fixed like a government task force. Biden-Harris Trucking Action Plan is working on solving driver recruitment, driver retention. How we doing?
They're not doing well because they're focusing more on recruitment and creating more drivers than retaining the existing drivers that are in the industry, because every year we create 4 million or so Class A CDL drivers, and we only need about 4 million in the industry. But the average tenure for these new drivers is 3 to 6 months, and then they leave the industry because they've been lied to and they just don't want to deal with it. So the retention should be the focal point of this plan, but recruitment is more of their focal point, and that's not going to help. Bringing in new blood is not going to stop. It's like a bucket with a hole in it. You can pour all the water you want into it. It's going to keep running out the bottom.
But why are we like thinking that Biden-Harris is going to fix trucking? I don't even understand why. Like, where, really?
There is no administration that is going to fix this, because it isn't a government problem, it's an industry problem. But as long as high-powered lobbyists for the American Trucking Associations, Truckload Carriers of America, and similar trade groups like that have the ear of Congress, they're going to push their driver shortage propaganda instead of admitting that it's a retention problem. Because if it's a retention problem, then it comes right back on them that it is something they can fix. They can improve the working conditions, improve the pay, improve the type of runs they offer, the way they operate their company, the way they treat their employees. And so they don't want it to be their problem, because that means they're going to have to catch wages up to where they should be, which would make most truck drivers have a 6-figure income instead of $45,000 a year as your average over-the-road truck driver salary, where it should be more like 110, 115 to have kept pace with inflation. Then they also would have to revamp their entire system, where some of these companies make money off of turnover because they lease you a truck, and then when you can't pay for it, well, they come after you in collections, or they do the driver training and they charge you $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 for it. And when you don't work for them for a year or two, then they come after you in collections and they take your money. And meanwhile, they've put 3 or 4 other butts in that same seat that year, and that truck is paid for that way. Not all companies are that way, but some of them are. So The administration, they only know what they're told. The lawmakers are not trucking specialists, so they only know what we as lobbyists tell them. So OOIDA does a great job of getting their message out for the independent trucker. I do a great job getting it out for the Towing and Recovery Association of America. But these other larger groups that have much deeper pockets, they get their message out more frequently and at a louder volume. So those that scream get heard.
Let's see what else we got here. And Lewie at OOIDA. I guess he was in I think Pete Buttigieg was in a virtual event. And here we go. I think this is Lewie said. Drivers are always on the hook. There's a book with the thickness of the Bible full of regulations that truckers have to follow. Let's look at these regulations and keep the regulations that make sense. There are so many regulations that have nothing to do with safety whatsoever, and guys are sick of being overregulated. Well said,
He's absolutely correct. And here's the heart of the issue. We have an agency called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and more than half of their regulations on the book have zero to do with safety. And I am not opening up the broker dispatcher discussion today, but whether a broker has an insurance surety bond or has authority to operate has zero to do with the safety of the truck that's physically on the highway. Whether that truck got its load from a dispatcher, a broker, or some homeless guy on the corner has zero to do with the safety of the truck on the road. So we need to pare these regulations down to ones that actually fit, that makes sense, common sense regulations, maybe even graduated set of regulations, depending upon your experience level and your own personal safety level, so that someone like me that has been out here 31 years before I started consulting and has a spotless record, I'm a big boy. I should be able to decide whether I want to borrow a few hours from tomorrow and work later today like they allow in Canada, or if I want to sleep 9 hours instead of 10 hours. We don't have enough time today to get into all the broken regulations, but this is never going to get fixed because another news item is Meera Joshi, the deputy administrator of a federal motor carrier, who is President Biden's appointee nominee to be the administrator, just announced she's going back to New York City. She took the position as deputy mayor for operations in New York City. So here we've been over 2 years. Ray Martinez was the last confirmed administrator of Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. So we've been over 2 years without clear leadership direction at the only agency charged with trucking safety. So of course it's a zoo and a nightmare, because the career employees, they only can take their direction from the leader. And the leader is a political position, and maybe it shouldn't be a political appointee at the agency head level. Sure, the Secretary of Transportation can be politically appointed, but these individual agencies, Federal Rail, Federal Maritime, Federal Aviation, Federal Motor Carrier, they need career people running that agency so that we as company owners don't have to worry every time an administration changes what new hurdles are we going to have to jump through, how are the regulations going to change on us. If we had that type of consistency, maybe we could get something done.
Man, great. I mean, that was a great miniature speech. It was really, because it's so true. I just read that headline about this. I don't even know her name because I'd only read it a couple times. But yeah, she just kind of.
Well, we have two major exits that are happening in Federal Motor Carrier, and the other one has not been covered much at all. Meera Joshi, the acting administrator right now, is the current deputy administrator. She's leaving, but so is Joe DiLorenzo, who is their deputy for policy and enforcement. Joe's been there for several years. He's not leaving Department of Transportation. He's just moving over to the Federal Transit Authority. And Joe, we may not have always agreed with him in the trucking industry, but Joe was a straight shooter and he listened. He came to several listening events. He came to Mid-America and Great America Truck Shows when they were happening. And he always didn't give us the answer we wanted, but he always gave us a straight answer that made sense based on the regulation. And so we're going to miss him too. So now we're going to have several top leadership positions at FMCSA that are brand new. we probably won't see any improvement or correction to motor carrier safety for at least another 2 years. Probably not till after the next presidential election, because it's going to take another year to get an administrator confirmed. Now we'll be 2.5 years into the Biden-Harris administration. Nobody's going to really want to do anything in the last year and a half other than campaign to be reelected. So we're not going to see any significant changes probably during this term of the presidency.
So there's the note. Dear Task Force, find somebody to take over that'll stay and know something. You know, I was at Matt's, and I was kind of blown away. That was a few years ago when Elaine Chao took the podium. And people were excited, and there were bodyguards, and it was.
I was there in the press, in the front row with the press. Actually, I was sitting right next to. He just left, Terry Scruton from Landline. He just left OOIDA, and yes, I was there covering that as well.
And so she starts talking. Everyone's excited. We've been waiting. There's been fire drills or whatever. It was weird. And then she's like, "Okay, everybody, welcome to Matt's. It's all about trucking. You know, real happy to be here in Kentucky. Glad to bring the money to Kentucky. I'm standing in Kentucky. We're all happy to be here. It's Kentucky. It's Kentucky. It's Kentucky. Okay, everybody, have a great day." And I'm thinking, what happened? What does she even know we're at a trucking convention?
She was campaigning for her husband, who is a senator from Kentucky, and the audience in that room probably was 5% or less Kentucky constituents, and because that brought truckers from around the country and around the world.
Everybody's thinking, "What are you talking about?" You know, if you want a glad hand, at least say the United States.
That's why I much preferred when Joe DiLorenzo would come to a listening session, because he at least understood the issues and the regulations. He understood them inside and out.
I mean, firsthand got to see, like, okay, so we're really, like, there's nobody really at the wheel here.
No.
I mean, that's what it felt like. It was absurd.
And that's why it was a breath of fresh air when Ray Martinez came in. And I wish he had finished out his term instead of going up to Boston and working up there, because Ray Martinez was career in transportation. He worked in New York and New Jersey in their Department of Motor Vehicles. He understood the issues, and he listened, and he was effective and took action, and he set the tone for that agency to actually listen to us. So I'm hoping that whoever they replace Joshi with will be someone that listens and not someone that comes in thinking they already know it all.
Well, and this is why, I mean, frankly, personally, I like to see how visible and vocal OOIDA gets, because you got to apply. Clearly, we have to somehow apply pressure to these task forces to get them to do something. Because as soon as somebody's not watching, oh my gosh, who knows what?
Yes, nothing happens, and that becomes an issue for all of us. We need to apply this. If you want to be successful as a business owner, you need to become politically active. People hate politics, but you have to talk to your state representatives, your state senators, your federal representatives and federal senators, and let them know how what they're considering is going to affect you, your employees, and your ability to earn and operate a business in their state and bring revenue back to their state. And we can't do it as associations, and I'm active with several associations, but we cannot do it as associations without our membership's help. Because at the end of the day, when I talk to somebody from West Virginia, it means absolutely nothing, because I live in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So I need people that are in West Virginia so I can go there and say, hey, I may be from Pennsylvania and I represent this trade association based in Washington, D.C., but we have this many members that are in your jurisdiction, in your district, Mr. Representative, and this is how it's going to affect them and the people they employ.
By the way, talking about, because bathrooms were mentioned in the live chat. Yeah, you'd think that during a pandemic, whatever we got, that bathrooms and parking, that would be a safety issue, huh?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Yes, absolutely.
So, but anyways, but I know that's the squeaky wheel and the whatnot. Let's do this. Let's see if I got anything else here in the in ye old satchel. Okay, so that's the end of that. Good. We want to clear out the mailbag for the new year. We do have. I had this. I'm not sure how exciting it will be. The driver's pay and culture guide. I just found that interesting that there is a driver pay and culture guide.
I'd find it more interesting for those of you in podcast land. The cover is a European truck, so I'd find it more interesting if they would ever just once in their life use an American truck for North American targeted stuff.
Well, you know, stock photos, stock images.
I know it's
speculation
cheaper for
lies.
us to license photos from Europe than it is to license American photos. So,
But here's okay. So we got wasted time, lack of work, pay problems. Let's zoom in. I guess these are wasted time, lack of work, pay problems, rate bonuses, and this is, you know, what's hard too is when I see some of the things, like if you see detention, you know it's about freight, right? Because there's no detention in car hauling.
Not well. We could consider
there?
detention in car hauling when you can't find your car because someone else decided to use it to drive around the auction to look for their car. So your
Well-
wasted time would be equivalent to detention.
Well, wasted time, definitely.
Or
but,
Copart waiting for a loader.
but no one's going to pay you for any of that. Nobody wants
No,
to
they're
hear
not.
it. No, you can, and that, which is actually, I mean, that is unfortunate. I don't know how you legislate reason, but I'm
You
sure.
don't.
But I'm sure somebody will find a way. Let's go ahead. This is in my mailbag. Let's get rid of this too. What is Axicle? What is this rollover?
It's something
Brian?
that takes a
Yeah.
it's something that takes a problem of having unqualified drivers that don't know how to behave going into a corner to prevent a rollover, and makes it the motorist public problem because it's designed to break that trailer away when it reaches a certain G-force level, lateral G-force, to prevent a rollover, so the tractor doesn't roll over.
Oh, now we lost Brian. Mike, check 1, 2, 3. He's still with us. He just he froze. Brian froze. We're having a heck of a show today here. So thank you guys so much for staying with us in the live chat. He's just gonna reboot and rejoin, and he may have had a breakaway. I think Brian has had a breakaway on his steer axle.
I'm back.
And Brian's back.
It's my turn to die.
Exactly.
So what this is it's something that takes the companies that don't properly train their drivers and makes their inability to train a driver the general public's problem. Yes, it will save a truck driver's life by preventing a rollover by letting the trailer break away when they go into a corner too fast or the wind forces are too strong and want to blow the truck over. But now we have a trailer breaking free and landing in the middle of the road, and that driver, I think it's going to lead the drivers driving a little more aggressively because they're not concerned. Oh, I'm not going to get hurt. My truck's not going to roll over. And now we just laid a trailer across the highway, and I don't know what to think of it. I'm not sold on this concept as being safe. And what happens when it's not maintained properly, and it ages and doesn't age well, and now just a normal corner makes that trailer fall over onto a car alongside of it.
It's very. I'm really glad we're talking about it because I didn't fully grasp. I hadn't opened it and looked at it. I hadn't done any homework on it. I'm confessing live that I'm once again sharing a news story I know nothing about. But and that's why you're the expert and I'm the host. I'm just the talking head. I'm just here blabbing away. But as usual. But I'm trying to figure out the analogy. What's the analogy here? I mean, this is interesting. I guess it's a good idea, but yeah.
How they're selling it is they're going to save the motor carriers money because their drivers won't get injured in rollover crashes.
Right.
They're going to save the cost of the damaged tractor and the downtime from that. And since the truck was going to roll over anyhow by the time this breaks, they're limiting the damage to just the trailer and the cargo is their thought. So when you look at the breakdown of the numbers, they say that it can save a fleet such as Knight Swift, which is who they proposed this to. They they can save them significant amounts of money. But it's pretty sad when they can save that much in crashes. Maybe they need to train their drivers better.
Wait a minute, that is so weird. You know, I found out the analogy. The analogy is when you hit the runaway ramp, because you know everything's gone crazy. There's an
What's a runaway ramp?
Right. There's an ejector seat button. You can eject out of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the equivalent. And this it's amazing. We've ran the numbers 100 different ways. When you use the ejector seat, when you're going to ditch your truck because, you know, everything's going crazy, and you eject, we're saving millions.
Yeah.
I don't think this story went as planned.
No.
This isn't good, Jay.
No, so that press kit, I think they were hoping you were going to tout how wonderful this is.
I know. Well, there goes your
sponsorship dollar.
Yep, go ahead and wrap that up. Merry Christmas.
I like the concept of protecting the truck driver. I just think that instead of something that jettisons the trailer, we need something that will prevent the truck from getting into the rollover condition in the first place, such as individual wheel and load sensors on your suspension that can tell when the G-forces are getting to a critical point. We already have that on propane tankers. I train propane and fuel oil delivery drivers for a company, and their propane bobtails already have, because they're a high center of gravity vehicle, they already have sensors that know when you're exceeding what they consider a safe lateral G-force, and it'll sound an alarm in the truck before you get anywhere into the rollover neighborhood. So perhaps we need something here that senses that, uses individual wheel braking, and slows the truck down, prevents an oversteer condition that can cause a rollover. Something other than just something that says, okay, it's going to roll over, let's throw the trailer off.
I like that. Well said. Let's get proactive rather than reactive.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so instead of the ejector seat, let's get hey, your brakes are looking bad.
Let's get a safety cage instead of an ejector seat.
I love it. Well done. And if anybody wants me to apologize live, send in the news, autotransportintel@gmail.com, because again, as a talking head, well, you know, I'm open to interpretation.
Sure.
The perfect response. Sure. Hey, listen. We have Brian's in the airport. We got to let him go. We ran over time, and thank you guys for making it through the. We all leapt the chasm in the middle of the show here. I don't know what happened, but we're back, and we're happy to be here. And we really we hope everybody does make it home. Or makes it to wherever you're headed, enjoys the holiday weekend, and Merry Christmas, and thank you so much.
Yes, are we here next Wednesday, Jay?
I think so. Let's see here. Let's look at it. Wednesday the 29th, I'm good. Are you good?
I believe I'm good as well, so we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
So we should be here Wednesday. Please join us. Brian, if anything changes, let me know. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to it. Love this show.
Yes, same here. All right, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
I'll
Christmas.
see you next Wednesday.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.